Hey there, players of all classes. Today I want to talk to you about something gameplay-wise that I didn't really understand game design-wise. I only had an idea going into being a DM about legendary and lair actions as story implications, like lore implications. But they serve a very important purpose gameplay-wise, and that took me a while to figure out.
How do you even start DMing? It's so scary! There's so much to learn, so much to worry about! So you start learning, making your own notes. Then you finally play, and this is where the real learning and processing takes place. And after the game, the cycle starts anew!
I think the first thing I need to explain is what are legendary and lair actions. Every once in a while, you'll come across a creature stat block that'll be like, here's your regular actions, blah, 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 and then at the bottom they'll have legendary actions. Generally speaking, they'll have 1 to 3 charges on their legendary actions, and they can do 1 to 3 things. And the way that it works is legendary actions occur at the end of another creature's turn. Generally speaking, you keep that other creature to something in your party, so it'll happen like after one of your party members attacks. I am leaving AI on my camera for this, and it's panning and zooming where I'm gesticulating, and I apologize if that's going to make you vomit. I'm not doing any of that. It's doing it by itself. I was like, you know what? Let me film one video with this on to see just how disconcerting this one video can be. But anyway, you have 1 to 3 charges for your legendary actions. Sometimes legendary actions will just be single actions that are taken out of their regular actions list, and then they can do them once after another turn goes. But sometimes they're entirely new moves, and maybe they take up more than 1 charge. Like they'll have a weaker breath attack or a secondary breath attack, for example, that'll be like, oh, this costs 2 legendary actions instead of just 1. And then they'll have 1 extra one to go on. And sometimes it's just a very, very weak attack that's even weaker than their normal attack. And it's just there. Coming into DMing, I was assuming legendary actions were for big creatures. Ones that you have some kind of impact on the story. These are legendary creatures. So when I first started DMing, I was like, I don't know if I want any legendary actions from any kinds of creatures in my tier 1 gameplay, so like levels 1 to 5. I was like, I don't think these creatures would warrant a legendary action. They're just like baby monsters. Like, why would they even need a legendary action? They're not legendary creatures. I couldn't wrap my head around that. Like, these guys are not that important to the story. They're not that scary. They're not that intimidating. I can't imagine why they'd have a legendary action. What I failed to understand is that the way that challenge rating and all that stuff is broken down in D&D, D&D is not a solo game. It's not meant to be a solo game. So everything is based around the idea that you're working with a party together. And that means if it's just your creature, like if you just set a boss out and this boss has legendary actions, you just set this one boss out for your party to fight. If it's just that one creature against 4 party members, that means there's times where this creature comes out and goes, hits one of your party members. And then it doesn't get to do anything for 4 turns while those 4 party members beat the absolute snot out of it. It's also a good reason why you should have cannon fodder creatures in there, why a lot of the time when you're fighting a boss monster or it's like the end of an arc fight, there's something else happening within the battle. Because if it's, again, just one creature against your party of 4 or more, there's times where your creature attacks and then gets absolutely obliterated before it can do anything else. And that's the beauty of legendary actions. They are a sort of way to balance out the action economy of this creature because, yeah, there's 4 of you, 1 of it. We're using party of 4 as the generic like party size, but your game can have more or less. You're supposed to be in a party so that everyone can play to their own strengths, and together you're a cohesive unit. That's the beauty of the game. Everyone's coming together to work together. Sometimes you're one boss creature just getting annihilated, and all it can do is its one action or multi-attack or whatever on its turn, its action and its bonus action, and then 4 more creatures are going to go and beat the absolute snot out of it. But if you have legendary actions thrown in there, then He does his attack. Wham! Hits the party. One of the party members goes. You're like, oh, that was a lot. Then another one of the party members goes. Now the creature's like, oh, no, no, no. You're not going to wail on me again. Give me a chance to hurt you. Give me a chance to make this battle even. That's really the game design perspective of legendary actions. Yes, for sure, legendary actions definitely give a creature the ability to stay in your players' minds more. They know that this creature has impact. They know that this creature has, we'll say, weight behind them. Like, oh, this is a tough creature. It can do more things than a normal creature could. This guy must be important in some way, shape, or form. But game design wise, you just need that creature to be able to do something besides get wailed on. And that took me a long time to understand. Like, for my first tier of gameplay, I was like into like level 3 or 4 before I was like, oh, I now understand. I didn't want to give them legendary creatures because these creatures aren't legendary. They're not great, but that's not what legendary actions are there for. They're there gameplay wise to give those monsters, those creatures, a chance to stand up to your party if it's just them. Granted, you're usually going to have cannon fodder creatures, and there's probably something in the arena doing things, that kind of stuff. But you want your creature to stand out, and that's really what legendary actions are for. Don't not use them in your first tier game. Like, especially if there's no cannon fodder enemies for them to throw out, no minions for them to keep reproducing and sending out, no trap within the stage. But speaking of traps in the stage, those are lair actions. So the way lair actions work, I will explain. Lair actions occur on initiative count 20, losing ties. So like if someone in your party is at initiative 20, then they'll go first, then the lair action will happen. But the lair action is something regarding the environment that is going to occur. And you can do all sorts of crazy things for lair actions. They don't necessarily have to be the environment reaching up and like grabbing someone if you're fighting someone in the woods. Generally speaking, the lair action occurs if you're in some creature's home turf. And when you're in their home turf, they have home field advantage. There's no better way to describe it than they have home field advantage. When they're in their lair, they get some extra buff. You can use your lair actions as, like I said, like it could be the environment. Like if you're in a bog, it's like boggy tendrils reaching up and grabbing you and pulling you down, holding you down. You can I'm using that specifically because a lot of the times if you run into a dragon on their home turf where their horde is, they've suffused that land with their energy. That energy changes the way the environment is. So if you go to fight them, they have new things to do. You can even have multiple lair actions where like this one occurs first, then this one, then this one. Or you can have, depending on who's attacking them, like this happens if your opponents are of lawful alignment. This happens if they're of chaotic alignment, that kind of thing. Or your lair action could just be when this creature is home, like say it's a golem, if you fight it in the garage, the laboratory that it was made, as a lair action, like a piece of, say, some machinery, some mechanical force attaches to it at initiative count 20, and it gains a new attack just for that turn, where it's just like, and it like sticks in its back, and now it's got like supercharged lasers from its hands, and blah, it just shoots lasers. And it does that on initiative count 20. It doesn't necessarily have to be the environment specifically hurting them. It's just something that is buffed because you're fighting this creature in its home turf. And again, I want to stress, I was like, oh, dragons made total sense to me. I could understand why they had lair actions. I was like, oh, 100% get it. Again, this just helps that creature action economy wise, because now it's not just one dude getting wailed on real hard while your 4 party members or more or less are just bam, 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 hitting it in order. It's something that is great. And the cool thing about lair actions, you could even do this with legendary actions, where like if you have a big, huge creature and it's got different body parts. If you break one of them, say like if it's a golem and you got its arm chopped off for some reason, or like it's a dragon, you want to Dark Souls it up, it has a special ability if its tail is still intact. But if your players go and cut its tail off, then it loses that legendary action. It can't use it again. You can do the same thing with Lair Actions. If you've been hanging out during DM Roundtable, I have spoken about this before. I am working on a series of trials for the Saruk race to train people to fight the Faerun. And my second one will have Lair Actions, where there are sconces on the wall that all have magical fire in them. So at initiative count 20, losing any initiative ties. If any of the sconces still have magical fire lit in them, they're going to pulse, and it's going to be a psychic pulse. Now, it's not the magical fire that's doing it, they're just telling you that it's on, but they will pulse. And now, that is the only light source in the arena. So my players, and when I eventually release this trial to the public, your party will have the choice of trying to put out all the sconces. If you put them all out, that pulse will stop, but there's no longer any light in this arena. You're going to have to rely on dark vision or true sight or blind sight or something like that in order to keep fighting the golem that is also in this arena, who has his own legendary actions. I won't go too far into that because I don't want to spoil too many things. But if any of my players watch this, when they do get to that trial, now they will know what the idea is. But like initiative count 20, psychic pulse. Now you can choose to put out all that magical flame, or you can leave it up and use the light to fight the golem. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but it does do a little psychic pulse. And like that's the Lair action for the area. So not only do they have to fight this golem, but on his home turf, he's got traps that are going to go off. So if you've hung out at DM Roundtable, you know how much we poop on the rules for 2024. We don't like most of them. Bastions, the way they're written, incredibly stupid. Like, break the scaling of everything in the game, don't make any sense, are illogical. But whatever, we don't need to talk about that right now. Anyway, one of the things in the 2024 rules is that if you are fighting a creature in their lair, their CR actually goes up. So their challenge rating goes up because now they're more powerful. They have some buff going on that's going to make them more difficult to defeat. That makes total sense. That is a 2024 rule change. That makes 100% sense to me and everyone who hangs out at DM Roundtable, because yes, now they're tougher. There's one more thing to deal with than you would have had to deal with before. But really, I want to put this out there to stress that legendary actions and lair actions, and I will say there's also legendary resistances, which you can give to anybody you want as long as they're a big, strong dude. And you can use strong in any way you want. It's not just crushing. The big, strong dude, they'll have legendary resistances. I'm not counting those here because those are a reaction. Basically, legendary resistance is just if this creature fails a save, they can choose to succeed. And usually you have 1 to 3 uses of it per either day or per long rest, which is like the same thing. I'm not counting those, but they do also technically fit into this same umbrella. It took me a while to figure out that, yeah, lore-wise, the people that you're fighting in your first tier of play, so like level 1 to 5, probably aren't legendary. They're not some great hero that's known the world over, because if they were, they'd be crushing you. They'd be absolutely demolishing you. Instead, they're there to mechanically even out the odds, because your party may, in fact, creature might go first, and then your party might just wail on them and kill them before they get to do anything at all. And legendary and lair actions are there to even out the action economy, to give the enemy creatures a chance to shine. And you don't have to be a legendary like ancient dragon for that to happen. You don't have to stand out that crazily. It's just game design wise, it makes sense to give these creatures a chance before they get absolutely demolished to show off their stuff. So don't save those until later in the game. If you have a creature that you think is going to need a little bit of a boost to add more oomph to attacking the party, give them legendary actions. Listen, you don't even have to start with all 3. You can start with a guy who has 1 legendary action, and that's every round he gets to do one thing after an enemy goes. And the enemies in this case are your party. Your Lair Actions, this guy's home turf. You are an invader. You do not have the advantage here. Play that strength, and you can make it an environmental hazard, the bog reaching up and grabbing you and pulling you down. Maybe there's Dyson spheres or something that are nearby that are like, if you get too close to them, mine with the sconces that pulse out, so you can choose whether to take that damage and enjoy the light or to fight in the utter darkness. That's up to you. There's many options for Lair Actions. And legendary resistances, if you want your guy to make sure that he doesn't fail the first time, like, especially like if you know your players well enough to know like they're going to try to stun this guy this first turn. I want him to be able to just be like, no! And then hopefully your players stop trying to stun him every turn. Well, they probably won't. Let's be honest, they probably won't. So don't wait to add your legendary actions, your legendary resistances, your Lair Actions to tiers 2 through 4. Put them in there. Make your monsters stand out to your players. Go for it. Scare them a little. If you liked what you saw, leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, sub, and I will see you, players of all classes, later in the next one. If you are able to and you would like to support me monetarily, there are a myriad of options, but the easiest ones for you right here watching this video are to become a YouTube member. There's a link always on all the videos, a little join button that you can click. And there are 4 tiers right now. The first one, you'll get access to my upload schedule, which will help you out because you're also going to get, at any of these tiers, early access to my videos because they release members only before they come to the public. The next tier, members of the pack, get access to my D&D homebrew repository, which is a lot of the stuff we talk about on DM Roundtable, but also stuff that I do on the side that I think would be okay to fit into a campaign. If you're not the DM in your campaign, talk to your DM, obviously, before you add any of these things. And if you are the DM, look at those things, make sure they fit into your world before you start using them. You'll also get access to my TTRPG BGM list. We may not have the same music library, but there's YouTube, there's Spotify, plenty of tools out there to get the same music that I've got. And there's reasons to use them. And there's now a column that's copyright ping, which I feel like is very important in this day and age. Next tier up is Respected Hunters. Those get you access to notes posts. You will access them if you're a YouTube member on the Discord, which you'll have a role for. If you're any of these tiers, there's also a Discord role. So we can talk about the members only videos before they come out to the public. The final tier, the alphas, is kind of a joke tier, but I don't expect anyone to ever jump in at this tier. But if you do, you can suggest a game. I will go out and find a copy. And we all know what kind of games y'all gonna pick. If you jump in any of the tiers, you'll obviously get the rewards from the previous tiers as well. There's also our Redbubble shop, which has tons and tons of design. I'm probably going to scroll down the designs right now. You can get our stuff on t-shirts. You can get our stuff on bags. You can get buttons, stickers. Most of the designs were done by the lovely DM Lacara. Please give her a shout out for her amazing work if you come watch us DM Roundtable Monday nights at 8. And if you can't afford right now, or you just don't want to give me any of your hard-earned money, which I totally understand, you can always come onto the Patreon, join the free tier. You'll get access to all the free posts I make. A lot of the posts I make are free. Plus, you'll get notified when I'm making other tiers posts, so you know sort of kind of what's going on.